Hello and welcome to Raising Those Spirits. I'm Steve,
And I'm Sam.
and we're back. I think we've managed to do like 4 weeks in a row now where
Without having a hiatus because one of us had a horrible lung condition.
yeah, I'm currently the one in my house that doesn't have a lung condition. So, fingers crossed on that.
Oh my goodness.
It's just really bad allergies for everyone this year.
It has been rough. No, I've had some sort of mild just like cough and sneeze for weeks.
Yeah, that's what Petra has. If you like shake him, it sounds like there's like a rattle in his lungs.
That can't
Um,
possibly be good.
Yeah, we took him to the doctor, and they were like, "Yeah, he's just got a really bad case of allergies this year. That's literally all it is." So we were like, "Okay, it sounds like maracas in there, but like, sure."
Oh,
Being a
poor
parent's
kid.
weird. You just have to be like, you take the weirdest news, and people are like, "Oh yeah, that's fine," and you're like, "That's fine." I don't think I would accept that about any other thing in my life. And yet, when it's my kid, I'm like, I guess I have to take your word for it. Like,
No, whenever I'm on a text chain or something with a new one of my friends who is newly a parent, and it's always some question about like some cough or ailment. I'm like, no, totally normal. Don't even worry about it. That's how things usually go.
yeah, it's just, it's weird. Being a parent is so weird.
Yeah, I don't know why we do it.
I truly don't know why we do it. It's so we can
It's
do
fun.
podcasts. We have nothing else to talk about.
No, I couldn't even imagine what. I don't even know what to do with myself if I have like a day off to myself. I'm just like, oh, shouldn't I go do something? It was my daughter's when she had today. She had a Girl Scout ceremony. She moved from Daisy up to Brownie,
Oh my god.
which is very exciting. But yeah, I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I was
I
a kid.
I could win the lottery tonight, retire tomorrow, and I think with my existing backlog of hobbies and interests, die before I completed my docket.
But you'll try.
I will try. And the thing is, like, I occasionally do get bored, and I'm like, I don't have time to be bored. I will never work through my backlog as it is. Pick.
My hobby right now is succulents. So I made
Ah.
my succulent shelf, and I accidentally posted it to the Raising Those Spirits Instagram,
Oh,
so
I
everybody
mean,
got to see my succulent shelf. But it's fun. It's a fun hobby. I
hey,
like that it's like slow.
why do my succulents keep getting gigantic, Sam?
Is that happening? You probably have them in big pots.
No, they're in such small pots. They're falling over.
That means they're very happy. You probably give them enough sun and the correct amount of water.
They're so big. I keep like chopping them up, and I'm running out of shot glasses and pots. I have so many succulents.
Is this the dad hobby of the moment?
I
Succulent
don't
growing?
even want them. I bought my wife like three or four cute little ones to put in like this window shelf in our bedroom, and now I just have hundreds of succulents. Them
You
and
should
spider
open up a little
plants.
succulent stand, like instead of a lemonade stand, just sell little succulents.
I do have this plant I found out today. I think taking care of plants in general is like the new thing for millennials, but I bought another small plant for my wife a while ago to put on that shelf, and it has gotten massive. And
Yep.
I have been propping it up. I have like the props because it keeps falling over and stuff. And I finally looked it up today to be like, what are you? How big are you going to get? You're huge now. You were in a succulent thing at first, and now you're like a full window. And I looked it up, and it is bloodleaf, which sounds awesome.
Ooh.
Um, but It's supposed to be a flat-lying bush, Sam. I have this giant tall thing that I've propped up into like this massive structure, and it is not supposed to be vertical. It is supposed to be horizontal.
Oh my.
Yeah, so this thing just keeps reaching out and out for the ground, like where's the ground? And I just keep like tacking it up more, like you stay up there. So yeah, no, a lot of gardening. I actually I've done a lot of gardening in the last 2 weeks since we've talked. I put in a ton of flowers and all that stuff that I normally do. But when we were at the plant store this time, it was like they had an entire spooky section. I could have had an entire yard and house full of like black and like blood velvet and like all these colors that I were just like, wow, a lot of black flowers this year.
Was it intentionally a spooky section of the plant store, or
No,
is it
there was
just you
just like
found it?
so
No.
many. There was enough to have its own spooky section. How about that? You probably could have had a small greenhouse that was
That'd
just,
be a. Let's open up our own spooky plant store.
I mean, that's the good fallback, I guess. That's the logical progression of this
Yeah.
podcast is we just open an online
It's just
store
opening up.
and start
Just
selling
open a nursery.
spooky succulents, and then we'll expand into like bloodleaf and stuff.
Hmm.
Oh man, we're digressing a lot, and you know what? I don't have the time, energy, or inclination to cut this into 2 episodes, so more
Let's
content.
keep moving.
Last week's episode, I was sitting there, and even in the episode, like twice, we're like, God, we've digressed so much. There was a good 10 to 15 minute digression episode that I just didn't cut.
It's just let it be.
I just let
I
it
still haven't
be.
listened to it. Oh man.
I got it out the day it was supposed to drop. I like and edited. I was like, I'm not doing a second episode today. I'm barely getting this out on time.
You're a hero.
I try. I I've been so busy. You get it.
No, I get it.
So what are you drinking to dull the busy pain?
So I found a recipe, and I did my classic Sam move where I did what I had in the house instead of what was
So
actually in the
like
recipe.
50% of the recipe in a wish.
I mean, that's probably accurate. So I found it was absinthe frappe. And in an absinthe frappe, you would normally use 1.5 ounces of absinthe, a half an ounce of simple syrup, 2 ounces of soda water, mint leaves, and that's all over crushed ice. So I had absinthe, which is why I was like, oh, I should use this. I just had like a nip of it. I didn't have simple syrup, so I used maple syrup.
You can just
Not the
make
same.
simple syrup if you have sugar and water.
Eva was very tired.
Okay.
I had maple syrup. Soda water I had because I always have seltzer in the house, and it just so happened this time I had plain seltzer. I don't think I would have tried this if I was using a flavored seltzer. I didn't have any mint leaves, so I did have mint scented hand sanitizer
What?
that I used on my hands before drinking this. So I didn't put this in the drink. I just had it on my hands to give me the scent of mint. So mostly I had absinthe, maple syrup, and seltzer.
Uh-huh.
I went through. So there was a period of time, like towards the end of college, when I did was like I wanted to be an absinthe guy, and I don't know why. Absinthe tastes horrible.
I went through the same
This was
phase
what.
with you. I think you and me drank several absinthes.
Oh, I certainly hardly remember that, which is telling you it was good. This is one of the better ways I've had absinthe with the seltzer and the maple syrup. It really cuts it.
It's very
Cuts
French
in a way that
Canadian.
makes it is. It's certainly not Louisiana, which is why I picked it. Because apparently this was a Louisiana drink. Um, but I don't hate it, honestly. My daughter told me when I gave her a hug goodnight that my breath smelled like cookies, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I remembered she loves the anisette cookies at Christmas time that my
Mm.
Italian father-in-law makes. Don't hate it. Yeah, absinthe plus maple syrup plus seltzer water. Um, this is good. It's a sipper. It's if I ordered this off of a menu at a bar, I would say, oh yeah, pretty good.
All right. I have a non-alcoholic drink this week because with my physical therapy and a bunch of other stuff, I can't drink today. Um,
Fair enough.
but a while ago, I found while cleaning out a cabinet, my wife bought me. Have you ever seen one of those cups that you put in the freezer and then you pour a drink into it and it turns the drink into like a slushy?
I've heard of this. I've never seen one in like real life.
Yeah, so I did it. I poured in a Mexican Coke. I thought,
Ooh.
yeah, and it turned into just a Coke slushy. Um, and I think you could absolutely pour some rum or something in there, and it would be great. Uh,
Yeah, it sounds really good.
yeah, like it was quick, it was easy, it worked. Go for it. It was a lot of fun, and it was really refreshing because it was like 80 degrees today. So, God, I can't remember the name of the cup. I think it might just be called Ice Cup. Like it's one of those things where it's so simple you're like that can't be the name. And it's like I don't think I could just like Google Ice Cup and have it come up because
No, I just tried that. It didn't work.
yeah,
Freeze cooling cups quick from AliExpress.
I'll post it when I post the episode.
Nice, good idea.
So that's what I got going on. And you know what? That feels weirdly appropriate for the cryptid, which is this month Maine.
Ah, Maine. Not
So
too far from this.
Maine was, to a degree, almost a bust. Almost just because Maine actually has a ton of cryptids. Like
Yeah, I was gonna say.
it's Cryptid HQ. It's got the National Cryptid Museum is in Portland, Maine.
That's right. I've passed it a few times. I've never gone in.
But we're all the way to Maine, Sam. So you got your Bigfoots, you got your mermen and your Nessies and your lake snakes and your goatmen and your giant cats and your Bigfoot's cousins and your thing that's clearly just an albino version of that, like the specter moose, which is clearly just an albino moose, etc., etc. It's just every single state has these, and I did finally settle on the aggro pelter.
Oh my goodness.
The aggro pelter is a mythical creature said to inhabit hollow trees of the conifer woods of Maine to Oregon. So all across the north. So from the vantage point of the hollow trees, they wait for unwary people and hurl wooden splinters and branches at them. Uh, they're just angry squirrels. Every single main cryptid is explainable why it just being another animal. Like one of them was clearly just a beaver. Like it, but this one is described as a creature having a slender, wiry body, the villainous face of an ape, and arms like muscular whip lashes. And it can snap off dead branches and hurl them through the air like shells from a 6-inch gun. It
Oh my,
subsists.
that's violent.
Yeah, it subsists on woodpeckers, owls, rotten wood, blah blah blah. Its pups are only ever born on February 29th, and they always arrive in odd numbers.
That's specific.
Yeah, loggers die from branches falling on their heads. It was clearly an aggro pelter and not them cutting down the tree. Um, they are referenced also as having the head of a gorilla or some other terrifying ape, but fully furred. And its body was like a stretched out starving bear. And I'm like, it sounds like you just interrupted a hibernating bear.
Mm.
Like a hungry hibernating bear, completely back save for its face. Like, so in one account, an aggro pelter kidnapped a pioneer surveyor and fed him raw fish until he escaped. And I'm like, did you just bunk down with a bear?
But an otter. Very large,
Which otter?
friendly otter.
Yeah, I don't know. But this was the most unique thing I could find. And so we got the aggro pelter.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Very, very unique.
Everyone's got an ape man, but this ape man is unlike the other ape man. This ape man's not like the other ape men. So I fed it in a mid-journey. First, I just did aggro pelter, and I got a bunch of roosters and
I'm looking at these roosters.
a demented veggie tail.
I like him. I like Demented VeggieTale Monster.
Yeah, he is definitely in my short list. The next one had a bunch of like, honestly, what seemed like world-ending giant robots and or harvesting machines,
Mm.
and then more like rooster fodder.
Again, the roosters.
I honestly,
One of them's very regal.
I didn't have time. So then I gave up on the aggro pelter words, and I just started typing in the descriptions. And the third set I have is I just copy and pasted the slender, wiry body, face of an ape, blah blah blah, and I got a bunch of gorillas. But the one in the top right fits the description. It's the best thing I found so far.
Yeah, that looks like that's what kind of like what I imagined when it was described. The rest
Yeah,
of them look like sexy ape men.
they're
Well, one of
like
them looks like real.
if Bigfoot and a sexy ape had like a baby that went to the gym.
Yeah, they like really go to the gym a lot.
A lot. And
One of them's got like an 8 pack.
then I went back and was like, well, the apes are way off. Let's try the aggro pelter again. And I got a lot more roosters and another even more demented veggie tail. It's like they merged the veggie tail
Ooh,
with the giant earth-ending machine.
I like
And
that.
that's also on my short list. And then finally, I just was like, give me an emaciated ape with arms like steel cables. And it just gave me a bunch of CrossFit apes.
They're so crossfitty.
They literally have like the Ong Bak wrappings around their arms and hands, like the Thai boxing stuff. It is. I
One of
don't.
them is a yeah. One of them is a chimpanzee with like a long tail, which is strange. It's
Yeah,
anatomically incorrect.
he's a Saiyan, I think.
Yeah, that's right. He's the same.
He looks very much like a Saiyan. Um, yeah, so that's what I got for the aggro pelter. My two favorites are the Veggie Tail bunch. Uh, what are your thoughts?
I think my favorite one is the second vegetable monster. It's got
Okay.
a real unique look. I think it's really out there, but I think it's the scariest looking one.
Yes, it is definitely
I
the
like
scariest.
Yeah, I like that first cartoony VeggieTale, but he's a little too silly. I think I'm I'm digging VeggieTale number two.
I
They got this like
love
weird wirely body, that weird head like bulb in the front.
I love VeggieTale number one. There's so many weird little details. Like he's got a clock built into his stomach and like a bunch of what look like pulley levers, like drawstrings like you'd use for like a light or something coming out of him. But
Mm.
he also looks like so many other things that we've already been like, oh, this he looks like he could be the cousin of many things we've already done.
Yeah,
So
those
I
big
think
bulging eyes.
while he is incredibly unique and fun, he would fall into the category that we normally do, where it's like something you seek out for information or something.
Mm.
So, I'm gonna go for number two. What are your take on number two? Because normally I would say this is like a swamp monster, but the biome is different. This is more
I
of like
think it's more. Mhm.
this is more dry, like northern forest to me, which we don't really do a lot of.
No, I think he's almost like a carnivorous plant, like a pitcher plant or a Venus flytrap. Um,
Is that what all the red like
like
pustules on him are?
yeah, I think that's where he traps his prey. I don't think he's trapping anything big. I don't think it's killing humans. I think it's eating like squirrels, and maybe other like really large rodents. Um, I don't think he's dangerous to humans, but I think he is very unsettling. He's certainly dangerous to livestock, like he's eating chickens and things like that. So like if he emerges from the forest and gets to say your farm, like if you have a farm on the edge of the forest, I think he would just sort of sit and wait for your livestock to get too close, and they would get into his little red, like they would open up into like flowers that animals would get into, and then he would close them in and eat them and kind of saunter on after that.
All right, I'm into it. I could definitely see it eating like goats and stuff, just like going next to a rock pile, luring them
Mm,
in with something tasty, and just shambling away. I like it. What's it called?
yeah, I would call it. Um, Let me think. What's a good carnivorous plant name? Um, Flower gobbler.
Flower gobbler.
'Cause he's got flowers and he gobbles.
Okay.
Forest gobbler. Maybe forest gobbler.
Hmm.
Flora gobbler.
He honestly, he has some kind of like he gives me weird mushroom vibes at the same time.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay. Oh, what's the word? It's like there's an M word for mushroom that isn't mushroom. It's like see.
Mycelial.
Yeah.
Mycelia.
Mycelium? Yes.
That's right.
The moss mycelium?
Oh, the Myceli man.
Oh, I like it.
The
Mosscilium.
Myceli man. Mycelian. Mycelian. Like simian Mycelian.
I love it. We got there.
Nice. Put that one in the books.
Okay, so yeah, that's the aggro pelter. I don't even know what to tell you. Don't go in the woods. Like,
Don't leave your chickens near the woods.
I, my son is not going to be taken by the Fae. We were watching a bunch of like those Red Bull things that they do because they have that thing where like you go off the ramp and you try and see how far you can like glide before you hit the water and
Oh
they
yeah, yeah.
they do soapbox derbies. They do like a soapbox derby version on the water where it's like rafting. So we were watching some of these, and I was like, "Do you want to like go kayaking with me sometimes? Because we have a kayak and we live next to the water." And he was like, "What? No, we stay home. We love home." I was like, "How
Oh,
to
that's
tell you're
cute.
raising an introvert?" Like, just
Well, I mean, that's pandemic baby for you.
that is
He
a
spent the
pandemic
first
baby.
couple of years of his life just inside. Why would he want to go outside?
But I also don't need to worry about him being lured into the forest by any of these cryptids. So,
Not that guy.
uh, all right. So this week we did Fright Krewe.
Hmm.
I don't know why
Relatively recent show.
which is mind
Um,
blowing. So it came out in October, and season two dropped in March. Like,
yeah, so just like a month and a half ago or so.
yeah, like such a quick turnaround.
They
But
must have already been in production on season two before season one dropped, would be
must
my
have been.
guess.
So Fright Krewe, created by Eli Roth, who is a horror person who I do not enjoy.
I don't know that I've seen any of his stuff because it's just nothing that I would go for. Going back, I've seen. No, I saw Inglorious Bastards, which he acted in. I don't think I've
Yes.
seen anything he's written or directed until
Yeah.
this.
I wasn't into Hostel. I'm not into like torture porn. Um, he directed one episode of Hemlock Grove, but like he did the Green
Okay.
Inferno, not my thing. Knock Knock, not my thing. Death Wish, not my thing. Like I'm just not into his style of horror ever.
No, it's not. I don't have a stomach for that style of horror. The
Yeah,
very murderous. Oh,
like
this wasn't
body
his first.
horror, like
This was not his first like children's or youth horror because he did The House with a Clock in its walls.
what?
Another one that I have not seen.
I've never
I'm
even
looking on
heard
his
of that.
IMDb. It's Jack Black.
Did he
I think like spooky
produce that?
mystery. He directed it.
Are you
He
sure?
directed it.
Oh,
I'm
yeah, wow.
looking at IMDb right now.
Okay. Well, I
It's
can't
a
speak.
potential future episode, but I've never seen it. I've never seen that movie. I've heard of it.
That said, I really, really enjoyed Fright Crew.
Yeah. No, I watched the first. We watched the first two episodes. I think you said that you continued watching. I've only seen the first two episodes. But it's a solid show.
Yeah, we started it last night and we're already 6 episodes into it. Um,
Oh wow.
yeah,
You really just really dove right in.
my son literally woke up and was like, "Watch Sperry Ghost Show." And I was like, you gotta go to preschool, buddy, and I gotta go to work. And he was like, after I get home from preschool, and I was just like, no, I got like a doctor's appointment, then we got to do dinner. I was just like, but we did get in 2 episodes tonight. I was like, I promise we will get there, but much as we would love to burn through this show, we do not have time today. It is the day back after Memorial Day weekend. We're busy. But
But
yeah.
you'll be. I mean, like it sounds like you'll be done with it by the weekend.
Oh, easily. Yeah. We'll probably be done with this by Thursday.
Yeah, 20 episodes. They're 22 minutes each, so it's a breezy watch.
I only have season one. I
Um.
don't have access to Hulu right now.
Oh no, I
Yeah.
steal it from my niece.
Yeah. I grabbed Fright Crew when I had Hulu like 6 months ago,
Hmm.
intending us to do this, and then holiday season's a busy time for us.
Too many children.
No,
One
I just
each
mean
is
like
too many.
we have. It came out right before Halloween. That entire month is spoken
Hmm.
for. Then we got the post Halloween into Christmas, like then we take our New Year's break. It takes a while to get back into the groove of stuff. So this kind of fell
No, I
off
think we watched this. Yeah, fell off the radar. We watched it at a good time considering the second season like just
just
came out. So
dropped.
if anybody wants to get into it now, is a very good time. Um, so I was reading about the history of the show, and it was basically Eli Roth wanting to make something more akin to what he grew up with. I think he thought that there wasn't anything like the old Scooby Doo on TV now. From what I was reading, that was what he was trying to create with Fright Crew.
Okay, because it's the same studio that did Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, which I think I've recommended to you several times now.
Yes, you have. I have not watched it.
If you enjoy this, you would enjoy Kipo. It's even got some of the same it's got a lot of the same even group dynamic. The lead actress actually who plays the main character Soleil was one of the main characters in Kipo. Like
Oh,
primary
okay.
cast. She is Kipo's best friend.
So this show, the premise of it is we have a group of high school students. I think they're high school, like young, early high school.
Yeah, they're in high school.
Um, and they're kind of your misfit group. Our lead character. is like also a spooky tour guide in New Orleans, caught up in like a voodoo adventure. How I would describe it.
Yeah, it's very based in like voodoo, hoodoo, that whole very specific to New Orleans and Louisiana mysticism. Especially with like they don't have werewolves, they have oh god, I just like Vargos, which are
Rougarou.
Vugaru, which are like Lugaro, but slightly different. It's like a New Orleans twist on a werewolf. Um, so it really jumps into the fact that that specific area and that like Cajun Creole culture has its own set of cryptids, its own set of monsters. One of the characters, his name's Maybe, has basically got Shadow Man powers. If you ever read that comic or played those games or know anything about that lore.
No, I have not.
Yeah, Shadow Man is a whole series based on that New Orleans mythos. Of,
So it's interesting because this show treats voodoo, I think, very fairly. Whereas usually when you see voodoo in TV or film, it's very cartoony. Now it's like a very misunderstood religion. Whereas this treats it with a lot of respect and reverence, which is funny because it is a cartoon. Like,
yeah,
you wouldn't see that in a Scooby Doo episode where they would make it very broad generalizations about the entire spirituality.
I think it helps that they are literally all from the 13th precinct of New Orleans, so like everyone here grew up with this. So like none of this should be weird or cartoony to them. You know what I mean? Like this is just the local
Mhm.
culture. It would be like if weird Jersey Devil stuff started popping up around me, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I know this story." Like I grew up near the Pine Barrens. This is just local folklore. Um, but yeah, no. So it's. I think it's really well done. It's a fun ensemble. One of the characters, Stanley, is their resident himbo. He is delightful as every episode. I audibly laugh at least 3 times an episode. Um, which is not bad for a kid show that's Y7. Also, I cannot believe this is Y7.
No, it does seem a bit mature. So the main premise of the show is this group of kids, they all get detention because they were screwing around. You get your breakfast club sort of scenario. And for detention, their punishment is cleaning the cemetery, which that doesn't seem like something you
It's
would
very
be allowed to.
Hogwarts.
Yeah, it's like I don't think you'd be able to do that in a public school. I don't think you can make children clean a cemetery. It feels like you'd need to have actual training to do that so that you wouldn't ruin the graves. But not important. And of course, during the process of cleaning this cemetery, they unleash a demon, sort of like voodoo demon,
That was
and they all
locked
end up
there
getting voodoo
200 years ago. So
by.
it had been causing drama in New Orleans and it got sealed and they break the seal.
Like you do. I mean, like that's a pretty standard um
Oh yeah, can we draw the line
mystery
at reading out
premise.
loud in the Latin book?
Never do it. And they all get powers. Each one of them has an individual superpower granted to them by a voodoo god. What was the word? Loa, I
Yeah,
think was the word.
the Loa are they're like champion spirits. There's no like
Yeah, this is
there's
just
not a main god. They have all these different spirits from the spirit realm that are champions of different things that loan them some power.
so that I think the really good thing about this show for me was it made me want to learn more about the religion to see if they were making stuff up for the show or if this was actually a proper representation of the beliefs.
I
So
know
it's it,
of at least half of it I'm already familiar with. So I
and
can
it was accurate.
Um, this is something that I have like not done a full deep dive. I've just, absorbed over 39 years a bunch of stuff, watched enough horror
Oh no.
movies in New Orleans, played enough things that were like set out of there, read enough books set there that like, similar parallels have popped up again. Like I've run into like the swamp. Oh, you didn't get to the swamp monster, but there's definitely been things where I was like, oh, I know what you are. Oh, I know what you're gonna be. Oh, I know what this power is. Like, so it's at least all based in actual stuff. I don't know how well they're representing it, but it's at least accurate to the point where I'm like, oh, I think they're gonna do this, and then they do. So like, at least close enough that I'm able to recognize it from the outside. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yes, yes. That's good. It feels like they, I don't know for a fact, but it feels like they did the research and they did the homework to get things accurate.
Did you get to the pizza place episode?
No, I mean,
Oh,
where I left, I don't want to give away any spoilers since it's a relatively new show, and I want to encourage people to watch it. But I got to their first big fight with the demon at the end of episode 2, and we kind of leave off on a cliffhanger where the fate of one
yes.
of our characters, is left in the balance.
I yeah, Lou, that the character that shows up at the end of episode 2, amazing. Again, one of those characters where it's just like when they're on the scene you're going to laugh. I also
And that is, I think they're played by Rob Paulson, who's a animation industry voice acting veteran. So you got good people in this show.
yeah, it's good. I'm really digging it. They let the kids shine. The kids also are not idiots. They immediately when this all goes down, they go to the adults. They find whichever adult can help them. They're not like we have to do this on our own. Let's get
Oh yeah, that's
grown-ups.
true. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, no, it's really
Yeah,
funny.
they go for help and they try to figure out what's going on.
They bring in one of the characters' aunts who is like knowledgeable about this stuff, but like isn't used to hanging out with it every day. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, I've read the books. I'm not used to like demons showing up, which adds a
Well,
lot of hilarity. It's
sure,
like,
because you think of it, if there was a TV show like this based in Catholicism, where people were getting their powers from like the Catholic saints, I think it would be a similar situation where someone would be like, "Well, I've never actually met Saint Anthony before. I don't know
I
how his
think
superpower set works."
a good parallel would be something concerning the Greek gods.
Oh, sure.
Because the Loa are very much like that, where they're not all powerful, blah blah blah. Like each Greek god had their thing. Each of the Loa have their thing, and they each impart the kids with like a little bit of their thing. So one of them gets super strength. One of them can kind of control the elements. One of them can jump in between this and the spirit realm, etc. So, um, again, it would be like Hermes gives you a little bit of wisdom. Apollo gives you a little bit of control over the elements, etc., etc. You can just, get the strength of Atlas. I mean, it's a kind of Percy Jackson type of a thing. It's just they're using voodoo for once. You,
There was a show on Netflix called Spirit Rangers, which is aiming for like a preschool audience. It's more something along the lines of, yeah, PJ Mask or something like that, where our main characters on that show all get their powers from like Native American spirits. It made me think of that. This is obviously, aimed at a much more mature audience. But I think it's interesting, these shows that are popping up now where they are treating other cultures within the United States with a certain level of respect and like kind of like trying to accurately present these subcultures or native cultures.
And casting
It's like it
appropriately.
made also good. It even made me think of have you ever heard of Molly of Denali?
Molly
This is
of
a PBS. It's a PBS series. Again, it's aimed at like preschool age kids.
no.
About yeah, it's about like an Inuit girl living in Alaska, and it talks about just like Alaskan history. Again, there's no supernatural element or anything to that. It's just entertaining kids show. Um, but it makes me think of things like that when you see these shows where they are really trying to introduce, I think, probably a primarily white audience to a non-white subculture um, through this sort of narrative. On top of that, also something to be there for the groups that it's representing. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's again the same studio that did Kipo, and they tend to really embrace that because Kipo is the same thing. It's really diverse and representative and cast that way as well, and it's nice. It's a like little breath of fresh air to have something just different.
Mm.
But again, TVY7, there were a few times where my wife and I looked at each other and were like, there is a good chance of nightmares tonight. And instead, he woke up and was like, "Spooky ghost show?" And I was just like, "Okay, cool. Um, no nightmares, but it was a concern."
Yeah, I think I have not watched this with my daughter yet. I think I would go into her to see how she reacted to it. I think it's something she could get into. It feels very much her vibe.
Yeah, yeah, my son is super into it. The characters are all they all have their archetype. Like there's the himbo, there's like the quiet, moody kid, etc., etc. But they're all really well-rounded kids for the most part. They're not all just one-dimensional, which is nice. And again, if it's for a TV Y7 show, it's not always what you get. And yeah, no, it's just like there's so much good use of humor. Like one of the characters' aunts practices voodoo, so they go to her, and she's kind of like the person informing them of all this stuff. But again, she's not used to actually having the gods show up when you call them. But she's also like hilarious. Like there's this one point where the girl with super strength just like breaks a table and bends a thing, and she's like, "Oh, okay, so we're just breaking stuff now." Like it's just like you are in my home, and they just it's a very serious show. There aren't a lot of moments for actual like comedy, but they do a really good job keeping it light.
Totally recommend it.
Yeah, no, I was disappointed that it was my son's bedtime tonight because I was ready to do another episode. Like it it's the first show in a very long time that after my son went to bed, my wife and I were like, "Do you want to keep going without him?" And we did not, but the fact that we even discussed it normally when I watch stuff like this with my kid or whatever, I like multitask. I'm on my phone or like I'm researching something or I'm like grinding in a video game or something just kind of passively. I watched this show. It had my undivided attention, which is very rare.
No, that's good. I don't think that's. I mean, a show actually being able to keep your attention over your phone, I think, is as big of a compliment as you could give something in the 2020s.
The only time I was on my phone was I immediately recognized Soleil's voice with my wife, and we looked up the voice actress, and we were like, "Oh, it's Wolf from Kipo." And then I went down a little mini rabbit hole, like, is this any of the same writers or directors or anything? And it's just like the studio team. It's not the writers or directors. But aside from that, I was like, cool. I just, wanted to see if there was another attachment. It took like 3 minutes. I was back into it. And again, in this day and age, especially after like a day at work, that's a lot. It's a big
Mm-hmm.
commitment. So, very excited to finish it. Very excited there's a season 2 ready to go. Highly recommend, but maybe check out the first episode or two without your kid, because there's some definite
No,
body
sure.
horror. Um,
Oh yeah, that was a lot for a Y7 show.
episode 3 or 4 goes even harder. There's like a ghost episode where they are dealing with like their school ghost, but the ghost's mouth is gone, but it's been like sealed up like flesh, and it's very like, oh, okay, yeah, that's horrifying. That came from the guy who did Hostel. Why is this in a TVY7 show? But my son just kind of like kicked his feet and was just like, that ghost can't talk, and I was like, yeah, that ghost can't talk. Like, like no nightmares, so we're good. But your
No,
kid
yeah, that's
results may vary kid to kid.
kids need a couple of good nightmares.
Honestly, yeah, I'll take one that has merit, because it's always like, you had the best day in the world today. What do you got to be? What did you have a
What do you have
nightmare
to be
about?
scared of?
You've lived a charmed life.
I mean, as a parent who is watching his daughter grow up too quickly, I do always enjoy when she has a bad dream and needs a hug. Like yeah, that sounds terrible, but it's true. It's
No,
just
it's nice to know you
it's
still
like all
need
right,
it.
I'm gonna get some snuggles. Yeah, I'm gonna get some snuggles today because you had a bad dream.
Yeah, my
So,
son had a bad dream the other night, and I got like the biggest hug where like they actually want you to like pick them up, and I was like, oh, I'm cherishing this. Like,
I'm gonna take this while I can get it.
and I'm looking at my wife over his shoulder, and she's like, I know, I just did the same thing. Like, so yeah, I mean, I don't. The thing is, I don't want to talk a lot about Fright Crew. Um,
No, I want people to check it out because it doesn't seem like it's gotten a lot of traction.
no,
Honestly, just looking from the amount of people who reviewed it on IMDb.
yeah, and
So I
like
want more people to watch it.
it is. It's got a 7.4, but it deserves much better. Uh, I don't know. Maybe season 2 drag it down, because I'm looking at season 1 and everything's 8 or higher. So maybe season 2
Mm.
is just a disappointment, but it's like 9.6, 9.4, 9.5, 9.5. So it's very highly rated by the people that took the time. So check it out. It kind of starts off with your typical, 5 kids get powers or giant robots or whatever generic, Power Rangers and or thing it is, but mixed with Scooby Doo. But it rapidly takes off on its own and does its own fun thing, and it flips a lot of stuff that you expect to go one way on its head another way, which is also really nice. But yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it, just because this is one of those ones that you should just experience. So check it out and let us know, and maybe we can get some buzz going for this, because it's worth it.
Yeah, so you can always let us know on Instagram or Facebook. We're at RTSpiritsPod. We'd love to know what you think about the Fright Crew with a K. Like I
And
should
an
point
E
that
at
out.
the end.
Oh my gosh. What a word.
I will say the French screws me up. Because the villain, the demon that they released, is Belial. Um, Often known, often named, used a lot throughout history, named in the Bible. Like, Belial's been around forever, but
Mhm.
They don't say Belial, they say it with like a weird French accent, so it's like Belial, and I'm like, what? Like, Belial is here, and I'm like, Belial? I can't get over this. That's my one big hang up for this show.
So the French is a problem.
Well, just the way they pronounce it, because like I'm so used to it being said one way, so hearing it pronounced in like none of the consonants or vowels match. It is as far as you could go away from it, and I find that difficult to overcome. But that's that's my cross to bear.
One small one small issue. Okay.
I went into our local anime store over the weekend, specifically to pick up some candy that is in an anime that we've been watching,
Okay.
and because our anime store, half of it's like anime and manga, and the other half is literally just a Japanese grocery store. So, but this anime is entirely in Japanese. We watch it with subtitles. So I walked in and I'm like, "Hey, do you have any ramyun candy?" And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Ramyun candy, like the drinks?" And because it's also a drink, and I point to all the drinks, and they're like, "Ramyune?" And I'm like, "Okay, here's the thing. I learned it from the Japanese in the show. I'm gonna stick with my thing."
It's like, no, I said it right. You're wrong.
So I mean, I am the French person in that situation, but also not. I don't know. My whole life's a lie, Sam.
I mean, I hear you, man.
On one hand, I got weebs correcting me, and I'm all indignant, like, "No, you're wrong." And on the other hand, I'm like, "It's Belial. Liviosa." So that's it. That's all I got on this. This is a shorter
All
one.
right. Well, I hope to hear from everybody. Tell us that they watched the Fright Crew and what they thought of it.
And if you've watched anything similar that you think we'd like, let us know. Because I really have
Always
to
looking for
go.
suggestions.
This was DreamWorks. I really got to look into what else DreamWorks has been making, horror wise, because like they have another one I got recommended based off of that called like Supernatural Academy, that the animation looked similar. So I'm like, I gotta find out whatever this production team is and just start looking up their shows because I've been enjoying it.
Okay.
And check out
So
Kipo.
we have
It's
some more
not
content.
spooky,
Yeah,
but it's great.
I know. I will check it out eventually.
All right. Where can they find us, Sam?
Instagram, Facebook at RTSpiritsPod.
All right. Thank you for joining us. I'm Steve,
I'm Sam.
and stay spooky.
See you next time.